Hello, everyone. Welcome to Women in Web3 podcast that celebrate the inspiring stories of women who are shaping the future of technology. I'm your host, Kenneth Chu, and in each episode, we dive into the world of Web 3.0 and explore the incredible work being done by women in blockchain, NFT, metaverse, and much more. As someone who is passionate about diversity and inclusion in tech, I celebrate this podcast to showcase the achievement and challenges of women who are making waves in the industry. Our goal is to inspire more women to get involved and help to build a world that is more equitable and inclusive for everyone. So, without further ado, let me introduce our guest for today's episode. Amie Lin is a GP of Yuzu Capital and was part of the decentralized crypto hedge fund. Her fund thesis support genuine builders and entrepreneurs. Having already seed funded dozens of projects with her venture network, as a dedicated female GP, she is devoted to advocating female consumer-driven projects led by aspiring entrepreneurs in the near future. With years of experience educating audience on blockchain and entrepreneurship at conferences around the globe, spanning from South Korea to Singapore. Amie stands out as a truly inspirational figure in her field. I'm so thrilled to have her on today's and for her to share her insights in the Web3 industry. So without further ado, let us welcome Amie. Hi, Amie. Okay, you are muted. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, Kenneth.
Hi, good to have you. Thank you for accepting my invitation to be on my podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited here.
Yes,
Thank you for the great introduction as well.
thank you so much. You're welcome. And before we start, right, in fact, there's a tradition that every guest get to
Mm,
answer the question of the day before we can officially start. So, are you
okay.
ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So the question of the day posted by the previous guest is, what can you do to shape women in Web3 industry? Okay, I repeat again. So,
Okay.
what can you do to shape women in Web3 industry? Do you need some time to think about it, or you already have the answer?
Roughly, because I encounter a lot of ladies actually in Web3. I wouldn't say that I would shape them, but I would say that I would give them the kind of energy that they need in order to find their way in Web3. So it is not definitely not on my part to sort of like fully influence them. It's more like I would love to encourage women to come up with their own um, direction. And so, yeah, hence it's more like helping them if they need somebody to talk to or even get resources. I'm definitely happy to share because Web3 space is a very close knitted community. So I think that it benefits everyone. Um, yeah, it's not just women, but I find that women definitely are more social. They if you bring that side out from them, I think that it can be a very strong ally that you will have. I believe that with you working with a lot of women, you know that they are like one of the most like compassionate people to work with. They are very open to share.
Wow, thank you so much for answering the question of the day posted by a previous guest. And now we can officially start. So before we dive deeper, right, Amy, can you share with us a little bit about your background? What were you doing before you get into this space, and how do you get started in the Web3 space?
Okay. So now I'm a GP of Yuzu Capital. I was totally on the opposite side. I was more like I started from being a designer, 3D artist, and commercial art director. So I was working with television, commercial production houses, broadcast stations. At that time, it was like it's still like a broadcast channels, Discovery Channel, a History Channel. So working with producers on more like towards art direction on the graphics. So I think that it has been really interesting journey, and then I went into entrepreneurship, and I realized that I still want to do something in terms of related to um, 3D. So I sort of like started working with European companies on they were working on like augmented reality for furniture companies. So that is like it has a lot of precision in the modeling of 3D, all this. I was engrossed with that, and I realized that hey, I really like what the European company is doing. The software itself is really amazing. It's so scalable. Um, and I looked into that. At that time, I was working with a few people on more like a IT company doing product development for yeah, be it MNC or SME, like SME if they require e-training, and then we will create a software down to with SME when they need to do digital transformation. That's like it's always a theme with uh, you know government-based grants. So and I realized that there's something moving around in the gig economy whereby um, the the peer-to-peer technology seems to be something that really made sense. And so I think I was talking to this about to a few people, and an event organizer approached me and got me to speak. So that's when I spoke at I think that time it was a Changi, a small little workshop to talk about blockchain, and for me, it's more like I'm not so much of a technical person. I'm more of a entrepreneur looking at business models. So I see what makes sense, how the technology can be applied to businesses. So I was talking in the workshop. I realized that this seems like a very interesting space. So there are a lot of smart people in a very small conference. It started really small in Changi, and yeah, from there, the second event would be in South Korea, where I can reach out to more audience. So I started from there, went to Web3 space, and yeah, here I am. When I took a break and I came back in, is the DeFi era, and I was thinking that wow, okay, um, CZAC did a good job. He made a choice of having both centralized and decentralized platform and see where it goes. So it's pretty exciting for me.
Wow, so it seems like you come a long way right before you come into the Web3. So would you say that after you came into Web3, you realized that this is the thing for you? When do you realize that this is something that you want to pursue or even dive deeper? Because you were coming from a very entrepreneurial mindset approach in this Web3 space. So
Okay.
when or how did you decided kind of decided to really dive deeper into this?
Because I simply see this as the future. It is not simply just uh, an event, a passing event, or one of the industry or verticals that people look into. It is future. Is it the future itself, or whereby it just makes sense to have all the things done peer to peer, everything that is decentralized, be it finance, be it data, in terms of the data distribution, ability to have more control for your data, um, and the lifestyle itself. So, with this peer to peer, community driven kind of technology, it is definitely the future. Yeah, we no longer need like people who uh, jobs that are created purely in the past it is really necessary because you need a curation. You definitely need in terms of a form of like security permission in order to operate things safely. But with blockchain technology itself, when everything is distributed, when you actually have the very strong infrastructure, it's not there yet, but it's getting there. Um, when the layer ones, layer twos, or the compatible tools that are working together, it will be a very different outcome from what's happening now. In fact, scams will be even harder in future.
Wow. So thank you for sharing the reason why you decided to take this step, right, which is going into the future. And just now you were using some words, right? I believe for our audience, right, they may not be able to, like you talk about layer one, layer two, you talk about
Mm.
DeFi. So maybe in summary, right, if you were to explain to anyone or even a 5-year-old, right, what would you explain Web3? How would you explain Web3?
So maybe I can bring up the pacing of Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3 in terms of the evolution. So Web 1 is more like I I talk, you listen. I am a promoter. I put everything on a website. It's static. You basically just look at me, what I have to say. That is the internet. That is yeah, that can be like a broadcast to everybody. It's like actually almost like a TV. You cannot speak to it at all. Web 2, UGC, which is user generated content. Basically, you are the one providing the content online. People can see what you type. So it's not so much of a one-way traffic. So it's two ways. That is Web 2 as the revolutionary Facebook social media has created. It's like the benchmark of Web 2. Now Web 3 it sounds like everything. It sounds like this magical Iron Man movie thing, like your Jarvis and all that, and your AI. It sounds very fantastical. It sounds like the first movers and everybody in the builder community is still figuring out. But the Web3 is about, in general, whatever tools, whatever technology that can give the power back to the people. That's actually what Web3 is about. So be it AI, you have you can AI, ideally can give you a better lifestyle to make decisions where AI or the robotics can do jobs that human doesn't want to do. um, and uh, and in terms of the blockchain technology itself is about all the other things like community driven um, engagements and the ability to vote, like decentralized in terms of being able to voice out what you want to decide on for your career, your future, your on government politics, or on investment. Everything is like based on individual consensus, but with catered to individual interests. Yeah, and expertise, of course. So I think, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. You are just give us a very simple layman way of explaining like Web one, Web two, and Web three.
Yeah.
Basically, in Web three, it's like the power is coming back to us rather than
Yeah.
with the big tech companies. And also, like you mentioned, right, Web three is very community driven, which is more like in Singapore we talk about the kampong spirit, right? Now you're in small community, the village, right? The village. So people are communicating more. People are
Hive
gathering
mind.
together.
The
Hmm?
village hive mind.
Yes.
Everybody knows, like, oh, okay,
Yeah, you know
this is
each
your
other.
interest.
This is like
Yeah,
your
it's
small group.
connected, but a village.
Yeah, those thanks for giving everyone, especially for those who are hearing like Web3 for the first time, especially for the women, especially for those who are hearing like knowing, get to know what is Web3, right? Thanks for giving such a simplified form of
I
it.
hope so. I realized I didn't explain about the layer one and layer two.
Yeah, but I
Basically, it's
think
a foundation. Yeah,
yeah,
foundation. And layer two is just making it faster, cheaper, things that
Diversion 2.0,
catch
right?
work on layer one. Yes.
Yeah, improve work. Okay, good. So, thanks for sharing that. And before we start, right? In fact, this is a question from me that I'll ask all my guests that comes onto Women in Web3 podcast. So this question is from me, and I'm curious, like, why do you accept my invitation to be my guest on Women in Web3 podcast, and it's being hosted by a man, right?
Oh,
Just want to hear from you.
cause I don't see man or woman. I think I think um it is a platform to speak, and the fact is that I f- it, I find that to be able to work with you, and when I interact with you more, you are more interested in what people have to do in general. Um, so you have really true interest in helping people, and to navigate between business and helping people. I find that you do strike a balance. So with good intent, then your value comes and then money comes. So I do hope that you have good business as well in the midst of helping people. So yeah, that's why I accepted. And yeah, we knew we sort of like um half knew each other from the same school, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
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 So yeah, and I think that it's really interesting to know someone who's like many years before that we could have met much
Mm.
earlier. So
Wow. When you talk
yeah,
about that, I was like,
hey,
okay, that's also the reason I think because before the podcast where we were like chatting and stuff like that,
mm,
I think the first time when we met each other was like still stranger, and because
yes,
because you're also moderating a panel.
yep.
I think it was before I was talking to you, so I think you were more serious. So that, but after
I
that,
was, and you gave me a book about
oh
mothers.
yeah, correct. I think it shocked you, right? Like, why is a man giving me a book about
About mothers.
mother? Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think that also strike the curiosity in you to find out more about like why is this man doing all this. And
Mm,
I think like you mentioned, right, the part that really connected us or after we clicked, because there's a lot of similarities. There's also because we were from the same school before, around the same time also. So I think, like you mentioned, we could have met, but it's like so many years after that we met in somewhere in the Web3 space, and then ever since then it's like history, right? And we got,
history.
yeah, it's like we click so well. We always like always bump into each other in other events, or even there's Web3 events. I will still ask you to come. So I think that kind of affinity, like I would put it in that way. That kind of connection is rare to have, and I think like you mentioned, right, it's about bouncing off the energy and the
Yeah.
ideas. Yeah. So and also coming having you onto the podcast, right, is also give me another type of, I would say, motivation and good vibes also. Because coming from you from a different angle in Web3, especially, which is also bringing us to the topic of this episode, right? Which is the key to successful Web3 investment. Because when I first knew you, I was like, wow, okay, I didn't know much women in investment or VCs or even startup investment. So that's why when you present yourself in that, right, um, as the venture partner of Yuzu, then that's where okay, you, I would say probably you are the first person, first female, um, I would say, that works in that investment space. Yeah, in very much
Uh,
the VC space.
Probably in the case of in Singapore, but definitely I see quite a few overseas.
Mm,
They already started like founding. 776 is one of them. Also a female founder.
mm.
Quite a few. Yeah, that's what I remember. But it's and also there's another Vietnamese female VCs as well.
Mm.
Valerie. Yeah, pretty cool. She's quite outspoken. I support her. So yeah. Um. Yeah. So how do I come, or rather, what was the question again?
Oh no,
Sorry.
because our topic of this episode, right, is like key to successful
Yeah, yeah.
Web3 investment.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Then
Just
yeah,
commenting on the yeah.
yeah, because I was saying that because I knew you and it interests me to find out more about that investment space, and you work with VC investors, and
Mhm.
that's why I find that fascinating. And today we're going to talk about Web3 investment.
Yep.
So maybe for those, right, we might be thinking, right, the investment that we are talking about, it's not about crypto investment, it's not about stock investment. So what type of investment are we talking about today? Maybe you can give everybody a bigger context.
Okay. Uh, So dependent on the kind of role that you are playing, be it you are just a small ticket holder trying to do investment, or big ticket holder whereby institutions or big angels, high net worth doing investment. So I could give a glimpse about where Web3 is heading and what is needed uh, in terms of the investment. Each of the role have their own place. Like the small ticket holders would be really great for peer-to-peer investments. Um, Simply to be able to put in both sides put in more liquidity, but besides liquidity itself, there are other things. It's not just about the money. It's about peer-to-peer activities like marketing, and also staking in terms of validating um, uh, proof of stake kind of technology. Um, yeah, so with all these roles itself, he definitely the different kind of investment it will help contribute um, with a certain kind of. I would say people are always looking for guarantees. So with that logic itself, what is basically when what you put in, how you're gonna get it back. So the peer-to-peer investment, the kind of guarantees that you have is more like um, the tokens that you will receive that you get give you more power to vote or the ability to multiply by a certain amount of investment. Obviously, you have to be discerning in terms of the projects that you believe in as well and the community. Yeah, so yeah, that's the kind of investment in different kind of role. It's more open now at the for Web3.
Wow, okay. So when you talk about Web3, right,
Mm.
is there any difference between like investing in like Web1 and 2 businesses versus Web3 businesses?
Um, I would say the difference is between basically centralized and not centralized. Web 1 and Web 2 both are centralized. So you are giving that whole that power wholly to the team itself. Web3 also you need a team itself, but you also are looking at the validation. You can see the community validation response immediately in Web3. So that are
Mm,
differences. It's much faster to know.
mm.
Mm.
And it seems that Web3, more people can get on board into investing in startups, in businesses. Is that right? Rather than in Web1 and Web2, most people will not be able to.
I think in Web3, a lot of businesses can be uh, micronized. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but basically it can be much
Micro
smaller.
business, yeah.
Yeah, micro business. But uh, in terms of Web1, Web2, you when you set up business, there are different forms, of course. But Web3 is much easier because you actually probably can specialize in whatever you're doing. It's like in the past, for example, as a business owner, right now, if you are a business owner for a content creator, you go through the platforms, right? On YouTube, that's a Web2 business, and you go by their rules. You need to understand and work around their algorithms, how to get to the top. So you basically rely on the platforms, but for Web3 businesses itself, you have more control in terms of how you want to put out the content, how you're going to receive the revenue. So you have you will be able to sort of like the past term passion work for your passion but you get a paycheck. So now actually for Web3 you actually can do that.
So you are saying that now because of Web3, right, creators or anybody who has a passion for certain things, right, they are
Mhm.
able to monetize and not depend on other platforms or other agency or other brokers, right?
Yes, that's right. um, there's more creativity that you can give. You can mm, and also if you decided to move into different directions, it's much faster and easier as well.
Mm,
In a Web 2 business, Web 1, when dive into a certain business, you register with ACRA, which is in
mm,
Singapore. When you want to pivot, mm, you can pivot slightly because you always have to categorize exactly what you want to do
mm.
under the registry, and then you have to go by a lot of rules.
So is that any difference? That means Web3, not necessary that you have to abide to all this.
Yeah, not necessarily. You can uh, you can find different ways to earn, basically. That's
Mm.
what Web3.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
have any use case that you can share, like examples, so that most people who are new to this space, they are able to relate? Any
mm.
examples?
Okay, there are people that I know that have not worked in any Web2 businesses and purely live on crypto, and they can get uh, their life together very well. They got married, they travel the
Mm,
world. Uh, so what they do is that they do like yield farming, which is basically uh, you are um, lending money to a pool, and then you be able to get rewards. So you can try out like different places, um, like Compound, Aave. You can do in this lending platform itself, and then earn. And you what you can also do is to explore different projects in the builder community to know what they are, what kind of value creation that they have. Just listen and ask the founders, and then contribute, so that you are actually working towards together with the community, get a feel of that. So I would say
mm,
that to the people who want to try out in terms of Web3 business, go into it by being part of the community. Do yield farming, do staking, understand how is it like. Yeah, of course, first install your MetaMask and get Brave as your web browser because you don't want people to track you.
mm,
You don't want companies to track you or ads and all that. It helps a lot. So you take all the safety precautions and then use your spare cash to do some kind of investment. Start you have to start as a small ticket size investor
mm,
to get it going, because that's what Web3 is about. Then only then, if you happen to be an individual in a financial institution, only then you understood like, oh, okay, why this actually is needed. It's not just like from the top down that that, oh, this investments are like what other investors are looking for, or what is lucrative. You really need to go into Web3 community, the builder community, to understand why and uh, why you're investing from the top down eventually if you're a financial institution.
mm. So when you just now I heard a word stacking. Is that
Staking.
staking? Yeah. So what maybe you can explain what is staking to the audience.
Okay, so staking is actually is just allowing your tokens. Okay. You are buying tokens at the same time, and uh, putting that tokens, you're lending that tokens, and then putting in a platform and holding it for a while. So staking is there's some platform that require longer time frames. Some you can unstake anytime, dependent about on the rewards that you are uh, you are promised to be given or at that point when you stake.
So it seems like it's a type of investment, or you put your money or token there, and it will generate rewards. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So the promised rewards, then you are giving, you're actually sort of like a bit, definitely a bit like it's again like lending
Mm, mm,
your money to the pool, but you are allowing them to hold it.
mm.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like it's a bit like banking. Like you put the money there, and the bank will just loan the money out for higher interest so that they use the interest to pay you off.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's that means you are putting your what you call that I would say tokens of money, right? That's untouched for them. Then after that, you get back the promised reward. For example, a certain percentage. It could be in back in the number of tokens, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that is how are the people in Web3 able to what you call it? There are businesses that is revolving around that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The platform will make it very should be making it very easy for you to just click stick. So don't have
Mm,
to worry about it. Be it in the form of like stake using NFT
mm,
contract, which is non-fungible tokens. Basically, it's a smart contract. I believe most people would know by now. It has different functions. Yeah. So sometimes people make the staking tradable.
mm,
That is called like liquid staking. So instead of stake and then you have to hold it forever, or in a
mm,
way in a platform based on the platform terms.
mm,
It could be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, for example. So let's say the liquid staking would be you're actually passing the ball to the other person. So instead
mm,
of unstaking and losing the rewards, you can ask, hey, I still have this contract, and but I don't want to no longer stake, but I know that I don't want to remove the kind of rewards that comes with the staking. Let other people take over by trading this contract away, the stake
mm.
contracts. Mm.
Okay.
So that's another form. There are many different forms from different projects that make
Mm.
staking creative.
Yeah, it seems that like Web3 opened up a lot of opportunity for people to grow their money and also to monetize from their passion or from the work they are doing by different tools, right? Different instruments that is available in the Web3 space.
Mm. Definitely a lot more creative juices. Uh,
It sounds like more like the gig economy will benefit a lot from this also.
yeah, that's for sure. The gig economy, whereby they are the most like people who like time to themselves to think. They probably in their room most of the time, but they earn money from the ideal thing is that they are able to earn money from wherever they are
Mm.
in their own room
Like remotely, right?
remotely. Yes, the gig
Good,
economy.
good, good. So since we are talking about investing in businesses, so definitely talking about investing in startup. So what are your thoughts right now? We are changing a bit of the gear, focusing back into the women, into the female. So what are your thoughts about female founders seeking funding from VCs? Because like for myself, right, I'm in this space for a while. I've been actively engaging people in the startup scene, especially female founders, female leaders, female entrepreneurs. And I saw that there have been always these conversations that female founders are not being funded by VCs or they can't get funding. What is your thoughts about this? Maybe to debunk the myth, or is this a real myth, or is it really happening? Or yeah, just want to hear
Okay,
from you.
so I think obviously we're not just talking about Web 3, it's also Web
Mm,
2.
mm,
Um, okay, so I think it's pretty natural whereby people with who comes out with the money would have their own preferences of who they want to invest in. I don't blame anybody for doing this. If I come up with my own money, I will invest in something that I will understand, that is my domain expertise. So in the traditional financing world, usually most of them they are men, and naturally they would invest in people that they are comfortable. When it's a female, when it's the opposite sex itself, you'll be thinking like, okay, if I'm gonna invest in her, why do I go out of my way to put money? Such important so
assets.
assets and to put in a person that I actually don't understand whether they can actually do my job. They are actually put under much more scrutiny in when you're a female founder. Um, it statistically, sorry, in terms of looking at the data itself, um, the female founders they definitely have a harder time because there are fewer female VCs. So that's very true in terms of Web 2, and I think Web 3, there might be things are changing. People are definitely more open-minded about it. Uh, but coming again out from investor point of view is always about being able to invest in something that gives you returns. So now comes whereby platforms, organizations that help women to be able to step up and get more resources. So I would say that is both like a chicken and egg thing. And there might there needs to be creative causes that get women on board to speak out, like this kind of platform, and explore. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing on your perspective on and your thoughts, right,
Mm,
on about female founder. And just now I just want to point out that you talk about like coming from an investor point of view, right?
mm,
A lot of times I realize that whether like for you you are you are a female entrepreneur, you are also as a venture partner, and coming from the perspective of investor, right? You want to 10x or 100x or even 1000x, right, from investment. So it's not about whether if let's say today if this female founder can generate that kind of returns in that 3 to 5 years time span, right, from her startup, definitely you will want to invest in that, considering of all factors, right? If let's say it's such a profitable and scalable business, definitely you will want to have a piece of it or want to invest in it, regardless whether you're male or female, right? Is
mm.
that right?
Yes, as with all investment, male or female, there's no actual promises. It's always about the person. So, yes, returns definitely are attractive, but that's the future that we are talking about. So we are dealing with the person,
The current.
the current person, knowing how the business uh, model is.
Hmm.
What is the character of the person? Is it
Hmm.
sustainable in terms of a working relationship with the person? Do they have the right team together other than the
Hmm.
person themselves, the founder? So all these current factors are usually more uh, I would say that in terms of weightage,
Hmm.
uh, have slightly more importance than looking at the future 10x, 20x. It's all those like Web 2 projections can be very, very inaccurate
Hmm.
actually.
Might be like all fluff, right? Because these are like you say mentioned projection, but it still boils down to the person that is mending this startup or operating this startup, or the back to the founder, right?
Yeah, we can only predict backwards,
Hmm.
so we can't predict forward, and it's all about uh being able to uh have the right attitude to keep building.
Yeah. So because just now when you talk about like the resources, right? Would you say that like female founders do not have that resources, or even have the good team? Why did I say that? Because I think last week I attended a startup pitching, and
Mm,
and there were like two male founders and one female founders. But I would say kudos to her because she's very courageous and she was sharing a platform, her own startup idea, which is revolving around apps, right? So and we realized that there's a difference in getting the team in, but definitely there's also a male founder, right, that did not have a good team because her team are all in academic, because he himself was a student from one of the local university, and they have this startup idea, this creative innovation, and the I would say the judges, right, or the sharks, right, was commenting that they don't feel that the team is made up of really realistic or even real business people, right? Even the advisor is more academic wise. So would you say that the resources, right, for female founders are not there, or is it because there's not much support that's given to female founders?
Firstly, to talk about the during the judgment of the sharks and
Mm,
looking at the team itself, uh, anyone, be it male or female, if they are only just going by theory without market validation, um, without the partners that they are having in the industry to work out the ecosystem, to be able to actually sell to people who are to the paying customers,
mm,
it won't work for anyone, be it male or female.
mm, mm,
Yeah, so whether female, they will be able to get, ladies will be able to get their resources together. It depends on if you're talking about the strength and weakness of ladies,
mm,
the ability to convince people. I would say women are pretty good uh, persuaders. They are very social, so they have to play out on their own strength. So men play out their strength by giving vision, right? They can talk about uh, with confidence and what they're gonna build. It's always expanding and expanding. Men have the the I would say uh, raw ambition and
mm,
of how they speak to get people
mm,
together. Vision is always important. Women can do in their own ways. Women give vision by giving slightly more certainty,
mm,
more security, like more assurance is that if you come with me, I'll take care of you.
mm.
Women can go the other way too.
Yeah.
So I think each of the gender plays up their own strength, but of course
Mm,
with business, you do need more ambition. You need to grow instead of conserve
mm,
constantly.
mm,
So women are good at conserving. Men are good at growing. So
mm,
in terms of growing, women grow at the speed that is maybe slightly more conservative, but and slower. But
mm,
you can be assured that the cash flow
mm.
or
More sustainable.
it's more sustainable, and perhaps the team itself in general would be more, I wouldn't say more well taken care of, depend
Mm,
on the character. I cannot guarantee for every person's character, but um, it would be more of a concern for the welfare in
mm,
general.
mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Then again, you can distribute that kind of responsibility to the HR as
mm,
you
mm.
grow. So I don't think there's like a one answer or
Yeah.
one
No
type
one, there's no
stereotype
one
to
size
fit
fit.
all.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I don't think there's exact stereotype, but I know that the bigger the data of female founders that are
Mm,
coming forward, the more that we can know that, hey, after all, it's not about gender. It's
mm.
about the
The
kind of resources,
personality,
the
the
personality,
resources.
the resources that you get access to, what
Mm,
you're gonna
mm,
do
mm.
with it. As if I have talked to many people before, you can have all the ingredients that are placed in front of you,
Yeah.
but if you don't know how to make use of the ingredients, you have the
Mm, mm.
resources, but you don't know how to cook up into a dish. There's no point, be it man or women.
Yep, yeah, you're right, you're right. And just now when you talk about that, that brings me to also what one of the sharks, she's a female investor, and she was saying that in fact in nowadays in a lot of startup, right, she's looking at having more diverse. That means even like the founders, right, the co-founders, right, can be one male, one female, because sometimes the male might run too fast, right, and the women can hold him back to really have
Mm-hmm.
that kind of balance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is very very important because this is what I see, like even for me and my business partner now with Andrea, right?
Mm-hmm.
So both of us has different roles that we are in, and also it kind of balance the whole structure. Like for me, right, I'm more I've been in sales for so many years,
Yeah.
and for her she's more into engaging, connecting with people, which is something, it's not that I can't, but it comes naturally, natural for her. But for me, I'm always the one that will be able to, I would say, convince or even share the values or even to sell, to do the closing. But for her, she might not be comfortable with that. But I think this is where the balance is. And also this is what businesses need also. You need both sides. You need to have more balance to make it more sustainable. And this is what I see in a lot of startup that is coming. And also coming back to the role, right? For you, right?
Mm.
What are the challenges have you faced as a woman in Web3? Because like in Web3 is still very male dominated. How do you face any challenges? If so, how do you overcome it?
Mm, actually, it's been great. As a woman in Web3, I think that in general people are more open-minded. Web3 when you actually need help. Mm, like I was talking to some VCs in the scene, like, hey, I was thinking, how do I structure this and that? They'll give me tips, and they are ready to share um, the resources, what they have been through. I think it's simply is because uh, they do have easier time to break through barriers. Like in Web 2, you need to jump through hoops because the people in Web 2 themselves jump through a lot of hoops to get there. So people who went through hardships usually is harder for them to like give you the information for free. So obviously there's always a understanding of like I do you favor, you do me favor back, or like or simply the fact that oh we are like-minded, that's why I don't mind you helping you without getting any favors back. So as a woman, I find that it's pretty I would say liberating in a Web3 industry.
Mm.
The challenges, uh, maybe it's a pleasant challenge to be able to manage even more males. I was working with like 60 over male in the DeFi project. So I come from like DeFi decentralized finance background, a project that did fundraise from the community. Uh, so itself, it's seed funded quite a few, like 25 seed projects. So all of them are male, and it has very interesting character. Everybody, the degens, so they say that term, it's a very friendly bunch. They want to keep it casual. Um, I think the challenge at that time, whether be it a woman or it's more like I would want to understand what are the terms from DGen. So I think not so much as a woman. I don't. In fact, it's more enjoyable as to be anonymous online. They don't treat you like a woman or man. They just treat you as an equal. So Web3 has been quite fun. I have been talking and navigating around, investing in different projects as anon. Um, People have been giving really a good um, reasonable advices, and the interaction itself is really great when you are actually anonymous.
Yeah, it sounds like the Web3, right? The culture
Mm,
is more we mentioned, right? Like Web3 is very big in community building
mm,
and all coming together, and not forgetting the reason why it's decentralized, right? The
mm,
ideal decentralization, right, is that everybody have a share, everybody
mm,
can play a part, even you are diverse, right? Because Web3 is a lot about diversity, and also inclusion. That means of diverse startup founders or even the minority will be able to have a piece in this space. And like you mentioned, you like basically enjoying. And would you say that there are also advantages for you being a woman in the male dominated industry like Web3 and Web3? They are more welcoming of you coming into this space because you bring in a different skill set or a different approach or a different vibes into this whole space. Would you say that there's advantages like women coming into this space?
the advantage is when I started working in the server of the DeFi project, they hear my voice. Obviously, they will know that I'm a female now.
Mm.
It's not just my name. So the advantage would, I think, I'm uh, able to navigate to seek
Support.
help or
Mm.
resource or support, whereby others might find it hard to ask.
Mm,
Sometimes I would
mm,
cross department, but then again, that's given. to my character. I
Mm.
am more of an extrovert, so I have no problem like
Mm.
talking to people and getting help and all that. Quite
Mm.
quite outspoken, but at the same time, mm, social to a certain extent. So
Mm.
I think as a female working with um 60 over males, uh, they actually treat me like an equal.
Like friend and
Yeah,
other.
more. Yeah, I think I would say 99%.
Mm.
Only in every place there are always this like odd one out.
1%. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get it.
1%.
Mm.
Everywhere, even with working with women,
Yeah, same
I
thing,
believe
same
so.
thing. Yeah,
Same
same thing.
thing.
I think it applies to everywhere. It's about the personality. It's about the working relationship, of how you manage people, right?
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that the advantages of women in this space also. So having said that, right, what would you say the role of women in Web3 playing in shaping the future of businesses and society? Since we have been touching on that, what would you say is the role of the women in Web3?
Mm, I think in future in general there'll be more women uh support to support women to work
Mm.
in a workspace kind of like business or consumer driven businesses. So women definitely in Web3 they can hit like and voice out what they actually need. Uh, it's all about problem solving in terms of what they require. Because you see, with inflation, with high costs, rising high costs itself, women do need to work to support themselves, and at the same time, wouldn't want to remove the possibility of having your family if you want. I mean, you can be a purely happy, independent woman, that's for sure. Um, but if you want any kind of like commitment itself, the multiple roles that you are playing as a woman, you do need a lot more support. Because right now, investments are usually given to men, so it'd be biased towards that. So in future, the women in Web3 they can voice out more exactly what they want. They might not be the one who exactly start the project, but they can be part of the community that validates that. So there are different roles for women in Web3 now that the peer-to-peer technology will enable you to be able to realize whatever concerns that you have.
Mm. Thank you so
Um,
much. Yeah,
yeah.
thanks for sharing the what is the kind of role that women can play in the Web3 space. So, what would be your advice, right, for women who are interested in pursuing a career in Web3 or even start a business in Web3?
Firstly, like mentioned before, get into uh, Web3 as a native. Download your MetaMask, buy NFTs, buy things that you think that why am I doing this, or uh, get into the Discords, talk to people, get a Twitter. Yeah, I know I have very few followers on Twitter because I have actually another anonymous
Mm. Account.
Twitter
Mm.
handle. So I would think that really get into it before you exactly find out what you want to do and pursue as a career,
Mm.
because you no longer can go from a top down. You can go into an organization, get a role, uh, but it's limited in terms of if you are only working like the usual Web2 way to understand where the bigger amount of transaction is happening within the business,
Mm.
B2B. So you really need to go to the C, the consumer, the community itself.
Mm. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot for sharing that advice. I think it's to really get started, right?
Get started.
Yeah.
Don't
If
be afraid. Have some spare cash to just try, be it $500.
mm.
Uh, Prepare for your gas fees, of course, a little bit of gas fees, because
Mm.
after all, Ethereum is still quite the largest layer
Right.
one.
So they can treat like gas fee like admin fee, right? Like really processing fee.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Hmm.
There are some 2.5 technology that like, hey, using the Web 2 way, and then you can grab some NFTs. You
Hmm.
can do that, but you have to spend a little bit to try
Yeah.
out.
I think for even for women who are interested to get started, right? I think is to dive into women funded projects or women NFT projects that is supporting women in
Oh, for
general.
sure.
Yeah,
As a
because
founder,
correct,
yes.
because there's not really a lot out there, so it's easy for you to navigate, or even some projects that you can resonate with. Yeah.
There'll be more and more for women, like organization and funds like WIBA, Women in Blockchain
Yeah, correct.
Association is
Mm-mm.
one of them. There are some Web two, a lot, actually quite a few Web two for women. You can find out on the internet. I can't remember
Yeah.
offhand.
If not, you guys can just connect with Amy over here. When later she will be able to share. So Amy, it's really very nice of you to share your insight, especially into invest. What is a successful Web3 investment? So maybe you can share with us. Is there any upcoming project or initiative that you're currently working on in the Web3 space?
Yes. So I will be starting besides Yuzu as a fund that which I am working on at the moment. That's for big ticketed Web3 fund. The advantage is that all these projects itself, the deals itself, from the Web3 native or crypto native community, the builder community that actually made projects into uh, that is more of a strong case study that can be usable, working with like the different partners. The actually in the Web3 native community itself, the builders, they will fund each other once they get fundraised. That's the beautiful advantage in Web3. I'm talking about the good actors, of course, and really want to advocate, strongly advocate. There are good actors in the Web3 community. Don't shun them. Um, Whoever is in the Web3 first movers and truly building, they will see the future together and they will reap a lot of rewards. So get into that. Um, so initiative, that's one thing. There are two more, which one of it is more of like a venture DAO for women as beneficiaries. So the keyword is beneficiaries. Men can get involved as well, but it makes sense that whereby instead of trying to slowly groom women with some charitable fund, we want to make it a profitable fund. So this women will be funded. The men also will be funded if they are benefiting women from their businesses, be it in their business model, in their workplace. For that we have to discuss about the policies, of course. That is for the venture DAO. In future, I'm still working together with some women. Um, uh, for a smaller ticket size, much smaller. It's more like a membership. So they will get their returns. There will be a social aspect of like a certain percentage for the social donations to related to women. And one more project, which I'm sure that you are familiar, which we eventually will talk about, is gonna be more of like a pitch show, and we are gathering the female VCs, partners, uh, angels to be on the show. I think it has been overwhelming in terms of the response. So yeah, we will want to be able to gather them to have their domain expertise as a woman, as within their industry, using their mandate to truly invest in female founders. And I think that with what you're doing currently, it's going to build that up eventually to the show, to have like women with more confidence, with the resources ready, with a revenue generating or ready business model to be funded. So I'm really excited to work with you on that.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, for sharing what are the upcoming project and initiative, and also I'm also very happy and also excited to be working with you closely to really support more female founders or female startups itself. So thanks a lot for sharing that, and maybe you can share with the audience how can they get connected with you.
Okay. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram. Not really active, but yeah, you can connect to my Instagram. I for sure will have a look. And Twitter, you can tweet. And also Telegram. Yeah, I have a Telegram. I
Yeah.
will.
I
Yeah,
still remember the
whoever
Telegram
like.
because the first time we met, it was like, oh, do you have Telegram? I was okay.
That's a non name itself handle. So close
Mm.
people who are close enough will know.
Okay, okay, thank you. Yeah. So now it will be coming to almost the end of the show. So what would be your question of the day for the next guest? Because now it's your turn for you to post the question of the day to the next guest.
Okay, I
You
was thinking about it when you were talking to me.
you see, I told you that you get inspired, right? Then you definitely
Yeah,
you have
yes,
inspiration.
yes.
Okay, what would be your question of the day?
Okay. What would you say to your younger self when you know Web3 is the future?
Okay, what would you say to your younger self if you know that Web3 is the future?
Yes.
Okay, nice. Okay, let's.
People say buy Bitcoin. Or
Okay.
yeah, that what.
Yeah. So the question of the day posted by Amy is,
Mm,
what would you say to your younger self if you know that Web3 is the future? Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, so this question of the day goes out to the next guest. So next guest, get ready to answer this before we can start the show. So once again, thank you, Amy, for sharing with us your insights about what makes a successful Web3 investment and what opportunity advantages that women in as a whole, right, will be able to benefit in this Web3 space. And thank you once again for making time. I know that is already a very uh, good session with you, good catch up session, and also understand more about what you really do professionally. So thank you very much, and this had been a great I would say session, a chit chat, or also understanding how the Web3 investment can come in to support more women. So once again, I want to thank all of you who have been watching and listening to this podcast till now. Thank you for listening to Women in Web3 podcast, where we aim to spotlight women in Web3, in metaverse, in NFT, in blockchain. So once again, thank you everyone, and thank you, Amy, for making time once again. Thank you, and I shall see everyone in the next episode. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
Amy.
you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.